Welcome, everyone. I'm really glad to see you all here. My name is Matt Skobrick. I am one of the entrepreneurs in residence at Innovate Eastman. I am an instructor. I've been a founder and helps to grow several companies myself. And now, as part of my job, I help other companies to take on a similar journey. So, whatever your industry may be, what my role here at Innovate Eastman is to be able to help you to grow, help answer some of those questions that are common with every business as you get into that growth and scaling phase. So my hope for today is that you'll all find some information here that will be useful to you and to your business, whether it's something you have already launched, whether it's something you're considering launching. This should be fairly universal in terms of industry, market, product, or service that you're looking to build. And so, of course, if there is time, or there will be time at the end, I should say, for any questions that you might have, those of you who are watching this on recording, feel free to reach out to the Innovate Eastman office at any point with any questions and get in touch with myself or any of the other entrepreneurs in residence who can help answer your questions and guide you in the right direction. So for those of us who are here live, this should take about 45 minutes as a presentation, and then we'll get a chance to answer your questions as well. So there's a couple of things that we're covering today, and that topic of finding your competitive advantage. We want to think about it in terms of a couple of different ways. First, we want to talk about why this is an important exercise and not just, doing some napkin math to have it for the sake of having something checked off our list in our business plan, but really the value on why it's important to have a competitive advantage. Second, we're going to look at what type of advantages that we want to start thinking about in terms of what we want to identify with and what we want to promote. The third, the competitor part of competitive advantage is that we want to understand who we are comparing ourselves to. And there's lots of different ways that we can think about competitors in this space. And competitors doesn't necessarily mean that you're going heads to head. It just means that your potential customers are seeing one or more options in addition to what you are offering them. And so how do you stand out when it comes time to help that potential customer make a choice, hopefully towards your business? How you compare your solution to your competitors. So this is a really great thought exercise. It's going to allow you to understand where you stand out and also where your competitors might have a bit of an advantage as well, and how you start to play that game on thinking about where you can really start to attract more people, where you can grow your business, and where your competitors might have that space, and you might want to consider putting fewer resources on that side. And finally, the fifth and probably the most important part of the competitive advantage is thinking about our unique value proposition. So if anyone's gone through a business plan writing or even done something like a business model canvas or a lean canvas, you know that unique value proposition, that kind of one sentence that sums up what makes you special, essentially, your secret sauce, what makes you stand out. So we're going to finish on that. And hopefully, as a takeaway, if you haven't done so already, you will start to think about your own value proposition with your business and how that will help you to realize and execute on your competitive advantage. So, a couple of reasons why this is important. So first, if you are providing an advantage over existing alternatives, your customers are going to be happy. They're going to be satisfied. They're going to understand that you're giving them something that they might not get somewhere else. And the impact of that is that they're more likely to stay with you. A happy customer is a long-standing customer. So, of course, there's dollars that help with that. From a marketing perspective, it is always less expensive to retain customers than it is to attract new ones. So anything we can do to increase customer satisfaction is always helpful. It's also creating a barrier. So if you can do something better than your competitors and you continue to make it hard for your competitors to enter into that space, that is something that gives you that leg up. And you can tell that story as a way of kind of promoting what makes you unique, what makes you special. And it really gives you that chance to do an apples to apple comparison and demonstrate to people, whether you have numbers, whether you have emotions or anything else, to say, yeah, look, I know you could go with that option. Here's why I think you should go with me instead. And if you could tell that story with evidence as a way that you objectively have that advantage, it really helps make that sale a lot easier. It also helps you stand out. So differentiating your solution means that it's easier for you to give that pitch, easier for you to close that sale because people understand what it is that you are offering them, and also what they're not necessarily getting from anyone else on that competitive market. Finally, it speaks to who you are and the value that you are wanting to create as a founder, as a business owner. Um, Part of the reason that we are all entrepreneurs is because we have a passion to want to create something, to generate value in some way. We have an idea, we saw an opportunity, we want to capitalize on it. That is the kind of value that we are talking about. So it's something that's very personal and true to us. And people are interested in buying that passion, right? If you are able to demonstrate why you are the best person to have created this solution, this opportunity, and you're really excited about that, then your customers are more likely to be excited about that as well. So that unique value really can help you on marketing, sales, and so many other things. You might know this example already, but I always think it's important when talking about something to do with our competitive advantage is to start with the idea of your why. So this is popularized by a marketer down in the US. His name is Simon Sinek. He's got a whole book called Start With Why. So this is kind of the central thesis to that book. And the phrase that he uses that really resonates with me is that people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So we're getting into competitive advantage a little bit here. I would consider this sort of a first step. So you can see inside of these circles, the why is central to a business in the way you communicate, in the way that it operates, in the way that you interact with customers and the world around you. So what you're wanting to look at here is using that why as a tool that helps to drive your values and passion. It lets you stand out. It helps people understand what got you out of bed that morning and helps you to communicate that passion that is central to everything you do. So, the classic example here, and maybe this is getting a little dated, but the classic example that Simon Sinek will use is Apple, iPhones. So Apple doesn't sell phones. They do. What they sell is phones, but that's not why they're selling. The Apple sells phones to help people get in touch with the beauty of design and technology and all of those things, make it easier for people to access all those wonderful things. So that is kind of their why statements. Apple, why do they exist? Because they see beauty and wants to make that available to more people. How do they do that? They create easy to use hardware and software that interacts very nicely together. And what they sell to accomplish that is phones. So it's not the phones that's the most important part here. It is that vision. It is that idea. It is that passion that helps to drive. And that really, when you buy an Apple, you're not necessarily, some people will look at the hardware specifications on this laptop, that laptop, this phone, that phone. But for the most part, if you're buying an Apple versus a PC, there's something else. There's an emotion that connected with you. That's the kind of emotion that I want you to start thinking about when you're dealing with your business. And one of the ways that is probably the easiest way to start looking at that is when we are talking about our business, about our product, our solution, we want to focus not, oh, pardon me, you know what, actually, this I have this wrong in the title, so mea culpa here. We should be focusing on the benefits, not the features. My mistake. So let me just give you a little bit of what this means. So the features is kind of the technical specifications, the business operations, the details, what your solution does, right? So going back to that idea of the golden circle, right? That why is central and that what is the outer edge of that circle. So the features is, it's this size, it's this weight, it has this functionality, all those things, that kind of detail. It highlights the product or the service that you're trying to sell. And it's speaking to the rational side of our brain, the ones who are interested in reliability, in understanding the details and wanting to know how it works. And that's good, right? We do want to have some, our product or service, we wanted to have good features. Now, on the other hand, benefits, which is what we want to focus on. So again, my apologies for the title mix-up. What benefits look at instead is how your solution is helping your customer or the end user, whoever that case might be. And that how is speaking to someone's the value that you're generating for them. So it's not just about the product. It's how that product or how that service is helping make your customer's life better in some way. It could be a small thing, it could be a big thing, but what you're wanting to really tap into there is the emotion that the customer experiences when they are interacting with your business, with your product, because you're speaking to their emotional state. That rational side of your brain that is not the thing that necessarily is going to make you the sale. It might give you a reason to walk away if the features aren't good, but the benefits are what is going to attract you to that solution in the first place. So, for example, I don't buy a self-cleaning oven because I'm interested in how the self-cleaning oven works. I buy it because I don't want to get down on my hands and knees and scrub an oven for 2 hours, 3 times a year, right? Like that is the emotion for me. It's time that I'm getting back. It is a lack of hard cleaning. That is the thing that's going to make me buy that product. It's not necessarily the features of that oven. It is how I interact with it that is going to help me stand out. So as a part of that, to understand how we're connecting with the emotion of our customers, we want to figure out what problems they're experiencing. So we want to look at the pain points. This isn't a pain point can be a negative thing, right? So someone's really frustrated by something, something's too expensive, it's hard to access, it's just not working the way that they thought it would. A pain point can also be a missed opportunity, so it can be a positive, right? So, for example, someone is wanting to build a movie theater, and the opportunity there is that there's just not enough movie theaters around, and people love going to the movies. So that's a pain point, not necessarily that someone's life is being made worse, but that it could be made better. So anything that is preventing you from living that better life in some way, we're going to call that a pain point. And then your job as an entrepreneur is to start asking yourself, well, why are these customers, why are they experiencing this pain? And what impact does it have on them? So once we kind of understand that, we understand their emotions, and we can even start to write them down, right? Are they feeling frustrated? Are they feeling sad? This is a really good exercise because it helps to put you in your customer's headspace. The next question that we're going to ask ourselves is, using the movie theater example now, well, how are they trying to solve this pain point right now? So with a movie theater, what are they doing? Maybe they have Netflix or, Crave or Amazon Prime. So that's solving, you're still able to access some movies, but you're not getting that big screen. So maybe you're going to ask yourself, is this working properly? Is this solving their pain points in the perfect way? Why or why not? Are there enough people who are unhappy, or they want the big screen, they want the surround sound? Is that enough of a market there that's people that you're going to have an opportunity that's worth pursuing? So the third question then you're going to think about is how you're going to solve these problems. So everyone has Netflix. Some people want to see a movie in the big screen. Am I going to be able to create that movie theater for these particular customers? And then how is that going to make their lives better? Is it going to make their lives better enough that they're going to be willing to pay? You've got a viable business in front of you. And going back to this idea of competitive advantage, you're going to ask yourself as well, is this different enough from the solution that they have now that they're going to be willing to open up their wallets and become my customers instead? So that is just a different way of saying, what's my competitive advantage? So everyone here, who is watching this, you have different business models. You're interacting with your customers in different ways. This can be something very small. It can be something quite, large and expensive. It doesn't matter. I think what I'm trying to get across to you here is that these pain points are something, if you can understand why your customer is unhappy in the world in some particular way and how you can make it better for them, that's going to give you that ability to reach out to them and start that conversation and say, I know what you need and I can help you do it. And in addition, I can do it better than whatever you're using today. So we have to think about who we're competing against there. And part of that is we want to think about it from the user's perspective again, right? So what are they using to solve this problem? Why are they using this solution? And what don't they like about that solution? It's a great opportunity to go in and ask questions. You'll probably learn quite a bit. keeping on with my movie theater example, maybe I'm going to go off and talk to 5 or 10 people. Hey, I know you love movies. You're seeing everything on Netflix right now. How is that working for you? Do you love it? Is there something? Do you wish there was something else out there? Um, if you're not fully satisfied with Netflix, what is leaving you unsatisfied? And if it's the lack of big screen and surround sound and someone else making the popcorn, well, then you have potentially a competitive advantage that Netflix can't have. And so to understand your competitive advantage, you really need to understand, those competitors. And I will tell you that sometimes I hear from founders, well, I'm not competing against anyone. I don't have any competitors. We're doing this on our own. We're pioneers. I think that could be true in a small fraction of cases, but for the vast majority of us, we are competing against someone. And even if we're not competing against them directly, we're competing against them in terms of the attention and resources and dollars that our customers are wanting to spend. And if they're not giving it to us and they're giving it to someone else, then there is a bit of a competition that's going on there. So let's think about those competitors and what that means. So with competitors, there's direct competitors. You're going head to head. Coke and Pepsi, classic example. Both are selling soft drinks. They both. Some people will dispute this, but they generally taste pretty much the same. And right there, they're just going at it. They're going after the share of the bubbly soft drink market. They're going head to head. They're the two titans in the industry. They have a very similar solution. They're solving the same customer problem on people who want some sugary drink, and they're fighting essentially for the same customers. People are making a choice consciously. Do I want Coke or do I want Pepsi when they are considering which carbonated drink to have? Now, a different thing that you might do as a customer is say, well, maybe I want a Coke, maybe I want a latte. So maybe, right, an indirect competitor for Coke is Starbucks. So Starbucks is not selling carbonated beverages, but they're selling something that the customer might want. They're going to treat themselves. They are going to want to, have something. They're feeling thirsty. They want a little jolt of energy. So these are not direct competitors. Starbucks is not Pepsi, but at the same time, they're solving the same customer problem, and you're still fighting for those same dollars. Customer is going to decide: am I going to have Coke, or am I going to go and have a Starbucks or anything else? So an indirect competitor, it's important to remember, right? Even if you're not the same features, even if it's not the same benefits, this is still something that you are going to compete with. Now, there's a third category here as well with Coca, with substitutes. So Coke, for example, just the tea you have at home. Maybe someone's growing some mint in the garden and happy to make a mint tea. And in that case, it's a completely different solution. One, you're going out and spending money. The other, you're staying in and tending to your garden. It's a completely different customer problem, and it's a completely different industry. But at the same time, from a customer perspective, those are dollars for Coke that are not going their way because the person is happy to stay home and drink tea instead. It is a complete alternative, it is a complete substitute. But in terms of how we want to sell our competitive advantage, those are dollars that Coke is not going to get because that person has made a choice that they have a substitute that is going to keep them happy. They don't even need to consider Coke. Now, Coca-Cola does not need more money. We're not worried about losing a couple customers to mint leaves in a tea bag. But I do want us to think, and each of you can go through this exercise on your own, that you are competing in different ways against different companies in different industries. And the way that you'll want to be able to group those together is by understanding how each of these competitors are solving your customers' pain points. So we're tying this all together. So once we've done that, once we've understood who we're competing against, how we are competing against them, the next question is to ask ourselves, well, what is our advantage relative to these competitors? And in this case, we're starting to do a little bit of critical analysis. We're doing a little bit of research, and there's a lot of great models out there. You can start to do this. You might even have some of these models already in place in your business plan. And if you don't, I'm going to give you some tools that you can start this process. And hopefully, within an hour or two, you can have a first draft together. So One of the first most classic ways to do this is what's called a SWOT. So the acronym there is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Many of you have probably identified this already. When it comes to a competitive advantage, what I want you to think about is do a SWOT for yourself and also do a SWOT for your competitors. Where am I strong? Where are our competitors strong? Where do we have a weakness? Where do they have a weakness? Right? You're kind of doing it head to head, and you can do this for any number of competitors in that same industry. So, this is a chance for you to really look a little more in depth at face value. What is that company doing, and how are they doing it? And the other thing that works well with the SWOT is that you are looking both at the internal operations of the company. So that's strengths and weaknesses. That's you're looking inwards there. Opportunities and threats, you're looking outwards. So that could be, the political, the regulatory environments, anything like that, where you have um, something that is external to the company, but still is going to have an effect. You might be able to find a competitive advantage there. Maybe you're working in a market that you can access more easily than someone else. Maybe they're at risk because they have some, manufacturing problem that's going to cause them headaches down the road, and you don't have that threat. So this is a really good way of, again, you're kind of looking to create that apples to apples comparison of that company and how that company is interacting with its stakeholders in the world around it. And then that will help you understand, where are they struggling that I'm not? Where am I struggling that they're not? And how can we make this change? Another way of doing this kind of analysis, I'm getting really into business student mode here, so you'll forgive me. These are not, they are relatively easier to use. There's a reason that, most business plans have some of these. This is the most MBA thing that I will share today, and I apologize in advance. So this is called the Porter's Five Forces model. It's been popularized for a long time. And what you're doing here is, instead of looking at a specific company, you're looking at the industry that company is operating in. So five forces, these are essentially like economic external conditions that are going to shape how that company, either you or a competitor, is interacting with the world around it. So it's taking a much more broad view. It's looking at a lot more stakeholders. So there's 5 points in this chart. So there's the threat of new entrants. So within an industry, how easy is it for someone else to come online and become a competitor in that space? The threat of substitutes, like we talked about already with Coke and tea, how easy is it for someone to come in and offer something that completely upends the industry and makes your company, obsolete or redundant? How much bargaining power do buyers have? So your customers, do they call the shots, or are they really desperate for any kind of solution you can provide? On the other side, the bargaining power of suppliers. So you, as someone who is supplying a product or service in this industry, are you setting the terms of your deals, or are you having to give heavy discounts to compete on price, or whatever the case might be? And the fifth one is what kind of rivalry exists among the competitors that do exist in that space right now. So is this a cutthroat industry? Is it collaborative? Are there more than enough customers to go around? Are you having to take customers away from an existing service or product? So, right, you put these forces together, and the way that you would run this analysis is say there's a high risk, there's a medium risk, and there's a low risk. And then you kind of put that in a table. And what that does is it allows you to understand different industries, different competitors, different marketplaces. So you're looking, again, a little more holistically at the market rather than just a company. But if you're working in a space that is very, very competitive market, there's a lot of people in that space, there's a lot of competitors, direct and indirect, this is a really good way to start to understand where you might have an advantage from a market perspective, and also what markets might not be worth entering into in that time. You can also do a nice little table for those of you who love Excel, like me. This is probably my go-to. So here we're looking at benefits. We can also look at features, and we're comparing them between your company and all the competitors. And you can do this any different number of ways. You can make this really complicated with a number system and a weighted ranking system. 5 is high and 1 is low across 5 attributes, and then you have some sort of sum tally. Honestly, I like the bottom table better. It's more visually appealing. It's a little less complicated. I like to put a little check mark when you or a competitor has something, and a little X when they don't. And what I'm looking to do with this table is to show that I have all of these benefits, right? Under your company, you should have green check marks everywhere, hopefully. And then you're also going to show where your competitors do not have those check marks. And that right there, that is a visual cue to show you what your competitive advantage is. Now, I should say with this is kind of you're doing a bit of a gut check here, right? This is something you're doing some research, but ultimately you're not necessarily going to have all of the information. So this is meant to be a quick exercise. You are trying to just give yourself um, a grounding exercise, essentially, to understand where do I think the right opportunity is. And the other thing I will say with this ranked table, especially if you're doing the check marks and the X's, if there is any feature or benefit where you have an X and everyone else is green, that might be a sign that you want to go back and address that issue. That might be something you want to look at a little bit more closely to help you to make sure that you are not giving ground and giving a competitive advantage away to your competitors. If it's something that every customer cares about and everyone else has it and you don't, it might be time to take a look at that a little bit more closely. Okay, this is the last one, I promise, in terms of graphs. This one is one that I use fairly often. So let's say there's two benefits. We've talked to our users. We have made a list of all of those benefits, that emotional resonance or features, and trying to understand which features matter the most. And let's say we've whittled it down to the top two. Maybe it's price and quality. Maybe it's customer service and speed to market. Whatever the case might be, what you're going to do is create a little graph, and then you're going to put yourself and all your competitors on that graph to understand where everyone is relative to those benefits. So this is a really nice visual tool. I think it's good to share with partners. At bank, I think, loves to see something like this if you're giving them a business plan. But I really like it as an internal tool because it does two things. First, it shows you where there's opportunity for growth. So it's always good to get up to the upper right-hand side of that chart, right? You're wanting to kind of be as good as you can be on both of those benefits that you've identified. So it shows you, if there's a ways to go, but it also shows you where there might be an opportunity somewhere else, because you don't necessarily have to go to the up and to the right every time if it's so crowded. So in this example, you can see, in the upper right-hand corner, there's 5 companies, including the company in this example. Well, on the other hand, there's only one company in the upper left hand. And so maybe, so I know the text is a little small, but on the vertical axis, they're measuring market share, and on the horizontal axis, they're measuring satisfaction. Well, maybe then in that case, what we could do is go and offer some really low cost product or solution. People might not be as satisfied for it, but maybe we can then compete on price and undercut all of those people charging premium price in that really crowded corner of that graph. Those people are going to have to be charging more because they're having to invest more to keep people satisfied, to keep their market share going. Maybe there's an opportunity to do something a little bit elsewhere. So it helps you kind of govern that strategy. And I'm using price as a specific example because I want to get into this idea on the advantages that you want to promote. So first of all, this is something true. Anyone who's trying to build something, you can build it fast, you can build it well, you can build it cheap. You can do 2 of those things. It's pretty much impossible to do all 3. And this is true of a product, a service, of anything. And so it's about trying to decide where you want to bring that advantage forward. So start by focusing on the problem or the benefits that your customer and your user cares about the most, and then identify where you can stand out in that marketplace. So I'm just going to go back to the previous slide for a second. Right. So let's say you're building it cheap and fast. Well, building it cheap and fast means you're not going to be able to build it good, right? If we're using that take 2 of 3 rule. Well, if that's true, then you might be able to find something cheap and fast, some people might be willing to pay for that, and they don't really care if it works particularly well as long as they can save some dollars. Well, in this graph, I see an opportunity in the upper left-hand section to build something cheap and fast because no one else is trying to do that right now. Everyone else is trying to build it good and fast. They don't care about cheap. So then going back to this graph, I see an advantage, right? No one else is going in the way that I want to promote that company. And this allows you to stand out in that marketplace. And people buy for all kinds of different reasons. You don't always have to have the best thing. You don't always have to offer necessarily the premium thing. What you want to do is offer something that meets the needs of your customers. And customers are not a monolith. People will buy things for different reasons. People will buy things at different prices. They all have different rationales. As we get to know that market better, we will understand them a little bit better. But um, the best way to do that is to really understand first the pain that they are experiencing and then how to resolve that. So this all comes to this point of relative advantage, right? So there are areas that you are going to have an advantage over all your competitors. And on this, I want you to play offense, right? You're going to go in there and you're going to promote. This is something that I do best. No one else can top me on this. You can brag a little, right? I mean, you built something and it is the best thing that is out there. Own that. I think it's really important to have that ability to play offense with your marketing. You know, take that strength and sing it on the rooftops. Now, on the other hand, there will be places where your competitors will have an advantage over you, and in that case, you're playing defense. You are not trying to advertise this. In fact, you're trying to limit how much people know about that, so that they are not seeing that as a weakness, right? And maybe you're looking internally at ways that you can turn that weakness into a strength over time, or at the very least, when there's not a stark advantage that your competitors have over you. So we're playing defense a little bit on that side, and so on any benefit, on any feature that you have identified in the solution that you're building, I want you to think about all of those attributes and think about where you're going to play offense and where you're going to play defense. Now, the last thing I want to say about this is that this is not static. This is not a fixed point in time. It's not something that's going to happen because you are always adjusting your business model. Your competitors are adjusting their business model, and your customers are adjusting their preferences as well. So we don't want to assume when we make a decision on what we're going to promote as our competitive advantage, that will be true 6 months from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now. It's really important that we connect with our customers, connect with our users to make sure that we still understand the problem that they're experiencing, and we still understand how to build something that solves that problem for them. And this will evolve over time. So, this competitive advantage, this idea on the relative advantage as well. This is something will always change. So you can go back, every few months maybe. You build this graph, you update this graph. You build this table, you update that table. This is a tool that you can continue to use to help guide the strategic direction of your business. So what does this all mean from that idea of a unique value proposition? So this is something I know I mentioned it a bit at the beginning. This is an unfair advantage. This is something that you have that no one else has. And it is a way that you are solving the customer's pain point or customer's problem in a way that your competitors just can't, right? This is where you're playing offense. And if it's something that you've created a barrier that customers can't reach, you've created an advantage they can't replicate, this is unique to you. Pretty much every company has this in some capacity. And a unique value proposition can be, we're a little bit cheaper, we're a little bit better, where we can build things a little bit faster. That's all fine. These can be your unique value proposition. If you're going back to my movie theater example and say, yeah, there's a lot of people ways to watch movies out there, but I'm the only one with a big screen. That's unique to me. That's my unique value proposition. So think about the kind of benefits that this can be. Again, we want to look at emotion there. So we want to think about something like peace of mind, something like making it more accessible to access something. And the impact of that on something that's more accessible is that it saves me time. I'll go back to my self-cleaning oven as an example. Maybe it's just more affordable and saving me dollars. So there's an emotion connected with all of these. And if you can find the benefit that speaks to your customers, that you can help them achieve that benefit in a way that no one else does, that's what I want you to start thinking about. Because if you can understand that, you can communicate that, that's where you're playing offense. That's your competitive advantage. And that really can be the core of how you're going to grow your sales and marketing. So I'm going to spend just a few minutes here before getting over to the question side, talking about, let's say we've gone through this exercise and we've done the analysis, we've talked to customers, and now we've built our unique value proposition. Now what? What are we going to do with this? Well, the first thing to do is to go back and start getting that language into your marketing and into your sales. And so starting to talk to people about that unique value proposition, and more importantly, talk about why that matters to them. This is again why we don't want to spend time focused on features. We want to focus on benefits, because benefits are the things that customers will see in their own lives. And if you can help them to understand that positive emotion, that peace of mind, that time saving, that dollar saving that they can experience with you, that is what you are going to want to be able to promote. And that goes back to what we were saying with that golden circle, right? With Simon Sinek. It doesn't matter what you're selling. It matters why you're selling it. Why you're selling it is because you're making your customers' lives better in some way. So target those users who are experiencing that pain and experiencing it in a way that you can help them resolve more effectively than anyone else and more efficiently than anyone else. And again, we're talking about relative here. It can be just a little bit better. It can be a lot better. Every business is different. Every industry is different. You are the one making a judgment call as a business owner, as a leader, to identify whether or not this value, this unique value that you're bringing, whether that is enough for you to start building that business and deploying your sales and marketing strategy. The number one way to find out is to go out and ask people. So start taking that action to collect feedback, validates that you've got a unique value proposition that resonates with customers. And because you need to get that feedback, because not everyone's experiencing pain in the same way. Two people can have the same pain points, but maybe the impact will be less because of their lifestyle, their salary, where they live, who they are. All of those things are going to factor in. So it's important for you to understand that. And additionally, the benefits that you are providing them, they might not benefit that in the same way. And again, right, like this is something that grows and evolves over time. Your customer base is always evolving. So for you, you are able to now go in and start collecting more data on that competitive advantage and making sure that this is something that you're updating over time. Don't get married to the idea of what your competitive advantage is, because it can change. Technology can change, regulatory environment can change, the market can change. And so you're wanting to stay on top of that as best as you can. So, in doing that, make sure that you're checking in. If you're managing your own marketing campaign and you see it's not resonating the way that it used to, it might be time to go back to the drawing board. Start thinking about this again. Start thinking about the features. Start thinking about the problems. Start thinking about that relative competitive advantage. So what I'm hoping that I've done today is to have given you some tools that you can use to find that advantage and update that advantage over time to keep that unique value proposition, strong and current and impactful within your own company. So I'm going to leave it there. And so I think at this point, we'll probably stop the recording so that we can have a frank discussion with everyone who's here live. If you are watching the recording and have questions about any of this content or how it applies to your business, please reach out to Innovate Eastman, and we'd be happy to sit down with you at any points. So thanks very much for your attention, and I'm really looking forward to continuing into the conversation now.